Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Now, I've just been saying to Krasimir Kostadinov just before we started this show, we came on, and you know, I like to think I've got a lot in common with Krasimir. We're both men of the world. And I said to him, Krasi, I like your top. Now, he didn't say anything back, but I'm sure he sat there in Bulgaria with about 5 birds behind the camera thinking, you know what, Fatty? I like your top too. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this new Arm Wars merchandise top that's back in and will be coming to you soon through Supernatural Strength. Krasimir's ordered one. Before we go on it, look at that, you see. Look at Krasimir's top there. Look at that, only in Bulgaria. It makes you look massive, mate. Look at that. You've definitely, you look 30 kilos heavier than you actually are.
Come to me, my son. Come to the dark side.
Well, it's like an extra off the Vikings, isn't it? Absolute quote. Where did you get that, mate? Well, it's good, isn't it? It looks very thick. Is that warm as hell?
It's very warm, actually.
Yeah.
I bought it from internet.
Pretty good.
But I saw this first time when I was in America. It's called poncho.
It's bloody good, that, mate. It looks like it's got a lot of looks. It's like, yeah.
It's like it's Mexican.
Yeah. Like you're out on the range. Like herding longhorn cattle.
Yeah.
You know, you're giving it that, you know, I'm herding cattle, but I'm strong as fuck. But I don't mind cattle. After I arm wrestle. Kind of look, mate. Now, the other thing we spoke about, we had no idea where we finished last show. Not a Scooby-Doo, not a clue. But I know that we'd sort of worked chronologically up. We'd got through your sort of early years and the fact that you got to be a dominant force in Bulgaria quickly. We'd also spoken about sort of a little bit towards now, when you're training now, and the relationships and the people that you train with. So this week I want to sort of walk through, and we'll start with really notable matches, mate. Because I received quite a few personal messages, mostly, I think I'm going to say from Bulgarians, and from people in Bulgaria sort of championing the Krasimir cause. They were like, yes, Neil. Yes, Fatty. You've got one of our own on there. And they love it, mate. You're a very popular guy, obviously. And rightly so. You're one of their signature arm wrestlers. But they all said the same thing. Tell him to talk about some of his biggest matches. His best matches. So many matches that are unseen. So I wanted to try and... What is the earliest big match that you can remember? Or really notable win? When was the first time you ever thought to yourself, yes, what a win that is? Who was your first big scalp?
The first match that is in my head is when I beat Ruslan Babaev 2007 in Veliko Trnovo Worlds in Bulgaria.
Okay.
Back then I was 19 years old. It was my debut in men's class. And before to go on the stage, I looked at him and I said, Babaev, are you ready? And he looked at me and he didn't know who I am. And he just said, good luck. And we went on the stage and I beat him 3 minutes after that.
Now, I think that's one that you mentioned in the first show. And you said that then you had a massive battle with...
I was not sure if I said to you or to another interview, and that's why I said it again.
Now, didn't you... Was it Kruglov you had a match with then after that? A really big...
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know Kruglov, very underrated arm wrestler. An extremely powerful puller. And he's one of those guys that may not win the matches, but he will tie up the very best guys in the world, particularly in that grinding hook position. Very, very powerful, real stayer. Now, do you believe that, because you beat him, but then had issues, do you believe that you were therefore the strongest man in the class that day?
I cannot say for sure, because maybe Ruslan underestimated me.
Sure.
And that's why I don't know what would happen if we put a second time that day. I mean,
see, that's where you and me differ a great deal, Krasi. Because you answered that, not only honestly, you answered it with a very soft and honest face. Whereas if you'd asked me that, we'll do it. You asked me that same question. Imagine I'm you, right? And I've just beat Ruslan. You asked me that question.
What would happen, do you think, if you pulled him second time?
I'd kill him.
I cannot say this for sure. I just cannot say that.
No, mate, joking aside, at 19 years old, that's a massive win. And it's a confidence builder more than anything else.
I can say something different. I like that win very much because maybe 6-7 people from my classmates came to watch the competition, and my adrenaline was just it was so nice. My family was also there, and this is my first noticeable win in my head.
And we had a conversation the other day about you, actually, mate. I think it was on the Fix. We were talking there, and another very big fan of yours, Raymond Slipins, who comes on the Fix with us, great guy from Latvia, Coach Ray. Yes, Rolly Ray. Some great photographs of him. If you want a poster or a T-shirt with him on, Krasimir, nice pose in a forest like that. You know, top off. I'll sort you out. Anyway, he was on the show. I can see you looking forward to it. He was on the show, and I said to him about yourself and the fact that we had an interview with you, and he spoke about your mental strength. He said, "Oh yeah, you know what's mega about Krasimir? I think he is mentally stronger than he is physically." Okay. Now this is an interesting thing for me, mate, because I happen to agree with that. Whilst you're an extremely strong lad, you're often beating guys that I actually think may be stronger than you. Whether that be through, we've had this discussion a few times, whether that be through being a better or more well-rounded arm wrestler than they are, having better staying power, and being able to transition more smoothly, which I'm a big fan of your transition pulling. I think you can pull very, very well. And people think that a press is a press, a hook is a hook. Bullshit. There's a lot of things going on in there, a lot of movements, a lot of timing, which you do very well. But what I wanted to ask was, do you believe that your mental strength and where it's at now has been formed over time and evolved over time because of things that, like you just spoke about, where at 19 years old, you had a win against someone like Ruslan Babayev. And as you rightly pointed out in the first show, Rustam has taken all the spotlight. But at that time, Ruslan may have been the stronger brother.
About the mind strength, I don't think that... I think it's the same during the years in me.
Interesting.
And, there's
as a young man.
Yeah, I feel it like the same. Even when I was younger, I felt it was stronger because when you are young, your dreams are huge, and at least my dreams were huge and still are. But when you are young, I was not doubting at all about anything. I was just believing that I would reach whatever I want. And there are many years since then. I'm still fighting for that number one spot. And sometimes there are some doubts now in me. But back then there were no doubts that I would be the number one guy. So I believe that this is something that I just had in myself.
What do you think created that, mate?
I can say one sentence that I love very much. Let me try to translate it. There is something strong in me. Something that can break rocks. It's called my will. And it walks next to me during the years.
Fantastic. Well, you're evidence of that, mate. You're absolute evidence of that. And one thing, when we were talking, one of the things that I spoke about that day with Ray, first of all, actually, he made a point. He said that he was at the your most recent Vendetta match with Alex. And if you haven't seen that match, guys, for anybody watching the show that has not seen the Vendetta, between this man and Alex Kadetcha. Go check that out, because I'll tell you what a match. It's an absolute cracker. So get yourself, it's a very typical Krasimir Kostadinov super match, actually. Get yourself over there, check out the match between Krasi and Alex Kadetcha if you haven't seen it. In fact, I think I saw it posted on social media the other day. Just an absolute barn burner. Now, Ray said he was at that, and he said after the first round, you lost, and you were struggling early on in the match, and he shouted up to you, "Hey, Krasi, you okay, mate? Do you need me to come up, work on your arm, anything?" And you just turned around and you had this calmness about you, and you said, "It's okay, I got it. I'm good." And he said, and it's that unflappable nature where you may have been 2 down, you may have been 3 down, but in your mind, you're still alive, oh, you know? You're not dead till you're dead. And that's something I've seen evidenced in you, I want to say 3 or 4 times, notably. Arsen Liliev would be another one.
This is something that I say to my students every time. Even if the whole world believes in you, if you don't believe in yourself, you will never win. And the other case, if you believe in yourself, doesn't matter that the whole other world doesn't believe in you, you will do it. This was the case when I beat Arsen Liliev 2012. Nobody believed in me back then.
No, they didn't.
Maybe just my family and some close friends.
That day, mate, you were a massive underdog.
But
Definitely.
99% of the world were thinking that Arsen would beat me.
Mm-hmm.
Even on that day, 2 people from Bulgarian national team, Veronika Bonkova and Stefan Lengarov, said to me, "Yeah, you beat him in the qualifications, but in the final, I think that he will beat you." And I was like, we'll see that.
Hey, I'm going to ask you something. You remember the night before, and we saw each other at the back of the arena. And I said, "How are you feeling? You know, massive day tomorrow." And you said to me, "Yeah, you know, there's some great guys in there, but I feel really strong." And I said, "Can you win?" And you said, "Yeah, I think I can win." And I said, "Ace, I think you can too." And you went to me like questioning. You went, "Really?" Because I think you thought, he's bullshitting me. Do you remember what I said to you that day? Do you remember that conversation? No. All I said to you was, I said, "Well, I'll put it this way. If you stop him, he'll know he's in an arm wrestling match." That was the only thing I said to you. And in my mind, I was thinking, this is going to be interesting if this stops. And I thought the chances of Arsen winning were probably 60-40. I thought he was 60% chance to win, you were 40. Because you had to put the brakes on him. And Arsen's biggest weapon for me was that explosive hit. Just that one venomous hit. And that's what concerned me about it. But as soon as the match stopped that day, I thought, holy shit, he's got this. Because if you could stop the first one, I figured you could stop them all, because you'd found an angle. And I lost my voice, actually. I lost my voice shouting.
One other interesting thing about that match is that when we were pulling at the final, and we started to foul out, and I don't remember the second or the third restart of the match. I was holding here, and I was feeling so bad inside, and I was thinking, I will cry here. I would cry here on the table, but I would not let this gold medal to go away. I will just keep that gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was thinking while I was pulling.
That's I've had situations in. Have you ever had a situation in a match where you black out, where you see stars in the match? Like you get round. I've had that.
Not on a competition, on the training I had this.
I once had that in a match that I won the match in an overall class in Belgium with Jan Gurmanos of Slovakia. And I managed to get his hand and wrist, but he was so fucking strong. And as he was driving, I was going like a fucking blackout. Like, I was like gritting my teeth and like that. And as it pulled, I was like, when he stopped the drive, I had like saw stars. It was a friggin' horrible experience. I thought, Jesus, am I going to have a brain hemorrhage or something? I don't know. I felt really like, whoa. And after the match, the referee, I think it was Olivier Hoos, he said to me, you okay? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. But I was a bit frightened. I was a bit scared because I never had that before. Never had that before.
During one training here, I was pulling one guy who was weaker than me, but I caught him low, very low. And he started, and I was... And suddenly, something happened. And when I opened my eyes, and I was like, okay, what's happening? Oh, okay, I'm pulling on the table. I should continue. Okay.
Yeah, out of body experience. Where am I? Yeah, that's when you know you're going at it hard, mate. But let's go on from the Ruslan thing. Obviously, at that time, you're 19. I mean, you're a puppy. You've not even got into your power really, or your understanding of the sport. What was when you sort of cracked a big name and won a tournament? Did you then go on to just a flood of victories? Because I remember you said in show 1 that when you became the overall champion of Bulgaria, which was 2 years you said after starting?
Yes.
That you were then the man in your... Now, if you're the overall champion of Bulgaria, at that time, when you've got guys, people may think that Bozhidar, Plam and the crop of today are freakishly strong. It's fair to say that you had that kind of weapon in Bulgaria back then. Stoyan was iron. You had Svetan there. You had so many, rock-strong pullers. You must have been given a massive confidence boost by being the overall champion of Bulgaria, because you know that the Bulgarian level is world class.
But I was never thinking this way. I was always aiming the top world class guys.
The supers, the big men.
First of all, I was aiming the world class pullers up
At
to
your
90
weight.
kilos.
Okay.
After that, up to 100 kilos. And 2011 in Kazakhstan Worlds, I won that competition. Actually, 2010 in Mesquite, Nevada, I was preparing very hard and I was thinking that I would win the Worlds. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, Dmitry Trubin came out and he beat me.
And at that tournament as well, didn't you get tied up? Am I mixing it up? There was Trubin and there was Fugarov.
Fugarov, Dzambulat Surev, Slavik Kachmazov, Yon Unchescu.
Yeah, Unchescu. He rang me last night.
Yeah?
He rang me out of the blue. Just no joke. I haven't spoken to Unchescu in 5 years. And phone rings and it's Unchescu. He just said, hey, and he goes, Do you remember me? I'm like, shut the fuck.
He was a great puller also.
Oh yeah, really
Very good puller. So 2010, it was a really hard class. We were 36 people and the category was about 3.5 hours. And I had tough match against Fugarov.
That's the one I remember, because I thought, you see the class progress. I remember on the day thinking, oh, that's not great. When you get into one of those screamers, and the field is so deep, it's not great.
And I had a tough match with Fugarov, and after that, Trubin beat me. I won the second match, I think, again against Fugarov, faster this time. And in the final with Trubin, I was not able to pull because I got cramps on my right arm. And I didn't know what to do. After that, Snezhana Babaeva, 2 years later, told me that when I have cramps, I should drink some salt and everything is okay. But in the finals 2010, I was not able to pull because of cramps. And the next year, 2011, the Worlds were in Kazakhstan, and I beat Trubin then, and I was very happy and very satisfied with that win.
Yeah. Do you think Dimitri was a better arm wrestler then than he is now? Arm wrestler, not more powerful, but in terms of his technical prowess, do you think he seemed more diverse back then? Now he's more.
I don't know.
Serving aces.
I don't know what to say. With the years, we change our training routine, and everything is changing. For example, me now, my press with right arm now is not better than it was before, but my wrist is stronger now. My pronation is stronger now. So during the years, the things are changing.
Yeah, absolutely they are. I mean, it's interesting you talked about the pronation there, because that's a bolt-on element in your game that can be really beneficial in terms of just controlling your set, so that you can't be false supinated by your opponent, turned out of position by your opponent, so you're losing rubber on the road. I mean, I saw a little bit of that from you in the past with some guys where they're much bigger, because they're once they get that turn, especially with the giants. Levan was a good match when you sucked Levan into the hook and you were flat-wristed, but you were losing here a little bit, and you couldn't turn under because he's already got the height. His wrist is here, so if you turn into him, you're going to give it him. But if you can hold this position as he accelerates for the pad, he's going to expose his own wrist, and if he does that, you'll press him. And it's very, very hard with a giant, with a much bigger man who's much bigger framed. So I think that could really, really yield benefit for you, mate. I really do.
Until 2011, I was not training my pronation. Until 2011, I was not training my pronation. I don't remember what exactly I was training, but pronation was not my priority.
Mm-hmm.
And after Arsen beat me 2011 at the Turkish tournament, I realized that I am not able to stop him like this. I need to hold my pronator.
Yep.
And I started to focus on that. And even after 2013, because 2012 Hutchins beat me in hook and 2013 Matyushenko beat me in hook, I realized that I was focusing too much on the top rowers and I forgot how to pull against hook pullers.
Sure.
And again started to change my trainings.
Normal. No, absolutely. I speak many times about the Devon Larratt of old. Devon, when he was at his peak, in my opinion, was when he was the Arm Wars Super Heavyweight Champion, the day he beat John. I believe that version of Devon was just the strongest version of him there's ever been.
I think
because
so.
he was very, very dangerous in much more areas. He wasn't at that time defend, and pull on the counter. He was extremely attacking. He was an A-side focused puller.
Just
and that went.
Was a lot better now, back then.
Yeah, because he was thinking about it. It was the application. I genuinely believe that he was looking to, okay, I'm going shoulder A-side. It's an application. It's style of arm wrestling. And then as he got more into training and the club grew and his fame grew and people come into the green machine, the Ottawa High Hookers is getting 35 pullers, whatever, suddenly it's, unless you're moving over there or some of the world-class lads, he hasn't got people that he can initiate on. And so he ends up here.
And one more factor. After the operation, he said that his side pressure was gone, and he never rebuilt it again. Actually.
No. Sometimes it takes a little bit from you internally as well. When I had my joint rebuilt, when I came back, I felt like it wasn't my arm, like it was an alien appendage. It was like, what the. And some of the areas that traditionally had been my go-tos were no longer there. I couldn't do it. Or if I did try and apply strength there, I'd get these crazy shooting pains, like a like somebody turned off a light switch in my arm, and my arm would collapse. And I was like, whoa, what the? And I went back to the doctor and I said, oh, you've done this operation wrong. You've done it. And he said, okay, let's have a look at it in the MRI at it. And I ended up having a second rebuild operation where he said, oh, Theo, we think there's some nerves trapped. So we can free these off and it'll make a big difference. Because what I was saying to him was when I was, wasn't just arm wrestling, it was lifting. So I'd be lifting something, curling. Not heavy weights necessarily. That was the thing. It wasn't when I was at maximum effort or anything like that. It was, I'd just be lifting a medium weight, warm-up weight. And I'd be lifting fine. And then suddenly, the arm that they'd operated on would collapse. It would just, mid-range, then poof, it would just collapse like somebody had turned it off. I was like, what the terrifying experience, actually. But what that does do as an arm wrestler, I think, is it messes with your mind, because all your sort of structure and your confidence, I can go here and I can really commit. When it isn't there anymore, you talked about it earlier, those questions are in your mind. It's like, oh God, I'm not the guy I used to be. When you spoke about that sort of doubt that crept in now, what's the catalyst to that, mate? What's created those doubts? Is it age? What is it?
It's just because it didn't happen when I was thinking that it will happen. And the next year it didn't happen. The next year again it didn't happen. One of the factors, actually the biggest factor, is that at Nemirov they never were doping tests. I was hoping that they will take tests, but it never happened. I really think that if there were doping tests, I was able to win. After 2012, I think that I got all chances to win some of the years.
What is your sort of stance specifically on steroids?
Even 2012, after the Nemirov, I got second after Pushkar back then. And we were talking with Arsen Hadjitudorov, and I said to him, when Igor will take some tests at his tournament?
Yep.
And he said, if he take tests on that competition, he should directly give you the cup, the absolute championship cup. This is what Arsen told me back then.
Does it deflate you a great deal that there seems to be, in all strength sports at that elite level, that it's dominated by an undercurrent of performance-enhancing drugs? Is that something that really concerns you, or has that just come in laterally in your life? Did you never? Because you never seemed concerned about it before, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, the thing is that I always I keep my confidence from my thinking and my believing that I train more and more clever than the other guys.
Yep.
And that's why I'm able to beat them even if they're on roids.
Yep.
But the thing is that the roids at the professional level, they give you about 10%, which 10% are extremely big difference.
At an elite level, you bet your ass it is 2% is.
Yes, most of the times from first to third place
is the toss of a coin.
It's 3 to 5% difference.
At most.
Yes. And 10% it's 2 categories difference. But I still believe that there's a way to win against the monsters. But it's a big factor.
Do you find that one of the things you referenced in that first part was that Jordan was there with you, and he was training with you. And you find that you're taking steps backwards because he's a young guy and he can pull regularly. And I thought that resonated with me a great deal, mate, because when you get older, you can't do what you can't. There was days, I was talking to Cobra, right, on the phone the other day, and he said, oh, you remember at the Worlds in Virginia Beach, when I was a pup, and I couldn't fucking beat Cobra, but I didn't know that. In my mind, I would kick the shit out of him, So and he's up for it. So we end up arm wrestling the night before Worlds. The night before the Worlds.
Really?
Ask him.
Okay.
We're mucking around. He's got a friggin' hat on with a flower in his hat, and we're fully loaded. And he's like, we're having a match. Oh, bet your ass we will. Off we go. We're going to pull. And that's that. But the thing is, I never gave a shit. And I don't even know whether it made any difference to me. Because I was so used to arm wrestling so regularly. I didn't have any pain the next day. I didn't feel bad the next day. I don't think it affected me the next day. I didn't give a toss. It just didn't bother me. If I'd done that now, I'd be utterly ruined for about 3 weeks. And you know what I mean? So everything changes as you get older. You get that situation where you can't train with that much frequency. Now the question would be, do you not get concerned about chasing monsters, many of whom may or may not be taking performance-enhancing steroids, and are physically massive? Do you not think that creates a much greater risk for you, for your health, for your longevity, at a time when there's probably going to be as much money in the bloody 95 kilo top 8? Why do it?
Yeah, but the thing is that I said it before that arm wrestling for me is not just a profession. It's my dream, and it's the thing that I love, and it's not just money involved in my head.
But there is longevity. Career longevity is a big thing, mate, because let me tell you, it sucks when you can't do it anymore.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
This is what I like, and this is what I do, so this is what I want.
So in your head, and we've had this conversation I know many times, but just for the benefit of the listeners, you have no interest in the 95 kilo top 8. Your aspiration is the top 8. The real top 8.
In my head, I've beaten all the guys under 100 kilos many times.
Okay.
Except not Hutchins. I would beat him if I have a chance to pull him again, I think.
Joking aside, does that match excite you? So let's say hypothetically, and we're going to go back to the question I asked a moment ago.
Yes.
But let's say hypothetically.
I'm interested in that match. Really.
Yeah, you get a call, phone rings, you pick it up, and it's like, oh, it's my fat friend Neil. All right, son. And I'm like, all right, Krasi. How's about a match with Todd Hutchins? Are you going?
Yes, actually, this is one of my dreams, actually, again, to pull with him, because he beat me already 2-3 times and on three different competitions, and I really would like to pull him again. But in my head, as we were talking about 95 kilo class, I have won what there is to win in this category. In my head, there is something missing in the heavyweight category, so this is where I want to be champion also.
But it's quite funny because you're not really a heavyweight. That's always, it's like John Brezink, you know what I mean? I mean, John Brezink used to come he'd go into the heavies, he'd pull the unlimited class. But whenever you sat down with John and you were just having something to eat and chilling out, he'd always acknowledge that, but well, I'm not really a heavyweight. And he was sort of looking at it the other way, like, why do I want to go and mix it up with a Richard Lutkus, with a Giant, a Dennis, an Andre, when, at that stage in his career, particularly when, let's be honest, a lot of those amazing matches that people talk about, John was in his 50s, late 40s and 50s, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It wasn't a prime John. And he was very conscious of it at that time. Do you sort of map your career out now, Krasi, and think to yourself, right, okay, how old are you now, mate?
32.
32 years old. So you think to yourself, right, I'm 32 years old. I need to do, and that's pretty much your prime, in my opinion. I think where you are now to probably 37, 38 is probably bang on. For a lot of reasons, unless you have other distractions like, you get married and you have kids and they take all your time. If you can remain in the same way that you are now and as focused as you are on arm wrestling, you're able to perform.
Depends.
Right.
Some people say that they got stronger after they got married, so depends.
It's an aggression gene, that Krasi. What happens is you marry a woman, and she's an incredible woman, but she's a bit of a bitch, you know what I mean? And then when you get home, you just feel like you're henpecked, you know, you're just getting henpecked. I don't know how it's in Bulgaria, but this is England I'm talking about right now. So you just get on you all the time, and it creates this aggression in you. So when you get to the table, it's like, you're back on, you know? Imagine if Engin had married a nasty woman. Holy shit! Can you imagine? It's a good job Engin married a really nice girl, because goddamn, you'd have put Engin. I could have introduced Engin. I could be like, Engin, are we going out for a drink? And Engin be like, yeah, no problem, let's go. So we go out for a drink, and I'm like, Engin. And he's like, what's up? I'm like, seriously? This woman, she looks amazing, nasty bitch. So be a bit careful. And then about 2 o'clock, Engin comes back, and Engin be like, she's great. I really like that girl. It turns serious, and he marries her. Everybody's at risk. You would literally need to show up at a frigging tournament in a knife vest. Because Engin had plenty of that aggression stuff going on. He's never worried about that. Oh, mate. I love Engin, though. You can't not get... Has there ever been a more obsessed arm wrestler than Engin Terzi, in your opinion? He loves it.
I have been thinking about this. Who is the most obsessed arm wrestler? Me, Devon, or Engin? And I still cannot answer in my head because the obsessity can be different.
Yeah.
Different ways. So this is still a question in my mind.
Have you got that obsessive compulsive gene where, like, you know, you have to like it's not an option, it's not a choice. It's like it's a duty to yourself that you have to train and arm wrestle. I think Engin's got that. Engin's been pulling that I'm going to retire shit for years. Engin ain't retiring. Engin Terzi's still... Motherfucker will live till he's 175 years old. And when he's that old, he'll still be winning. And probably in 3 classes. He's like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm going to retire next week. I might retire next week. And then 2 days later, I'll beep, get a message, I look at my WhatsApp and it's Engin. And he's like, I think I'm going to pull Arthur Macker off. You know, start with an easy one. And Arthur Makarov's an absolute monster, but Engin still wants it. He can't go. He can't walk away, you know. Love him. What a legend. Who's your favourite arm wrestler, Krasi? Apart from myself.
To watch?
Yeah.
Of course, John Brzenk. Of course.
You're another convert, are you? So you love John. What is it about John that you particularly like, mate?
Actually, it's great to watch him. It's great to watch him.
The fluidity, the movement,
He understands arm wrestling so well.
Yeah, he really does.
And the way his behavior is also great. The way he wins, the way he loses also.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I agree. It's that's one of his most endearing qualities, isn't it? The loss thing.
I love to watch Devon Larat also before he started doing this desperation move.
Oh, mate, you don't go there. Come on.
Yeah, no, this is the truth. Before he started to pull like this with Matt Mask for first time, I think. Before that, all of his matches were good to watch.
He's a very, very diverse arm wrestler.
And
unbelievably
also,
diverse.
The way he loses also is very impressive. After Michael beat him 2 years ago,
yep.
The things that he said after the match were really impressive.
Yes, they were. Very much a man.
Yes. That impressed me a lot. But I don't like to watch what he's doing now on the table.
Interesting, mate. I've got to stop you there.
And
don't think you're wriggling out of that, though. I'm coming back to that, mate. What he said was...
I just want to say that I like to watch Hajimurat Zoloev also, the way he pulls.
Interesting. Now then, park that thought for a moment, right? Here we go. After the Michael match, Devon says the following. A lot of people hating on Michael, but what Michael is doing is very advanced. Taught me a lesson tonight. Love you, Michael. Michael's like, love you, Devon. You know, I thought, okay, that's going to start something, because both of them, dark side, King's movers, both respecting that. And I think that really opened Devon's eyes to the issues that beating a King's mover creates. And it's a horrible move to arm wrestle. It's a horrible move to arm wrestle against. Horrible move to arm wrestle against for an orthodox
move to watch also.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the King's move aesthetically. To watch it, yeah, it's not my favourite match to watch. But I think where we differ is I wouldn't have the move banned. The enforcement of the rule is key. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. I've beaten King's movers, lost to King's movers, pulled a lot of King's movers. I always found it actually my least favourite move to arm wrestle against. My least favourite move, because I never was at the level of skill and understanding of that move where I could overcome it by straightforward means, by clearly defined means. Because within the system of arm wrestling that is King's moving, or pronation lock-based arm wrestling, whatever you want to call it, it's a spectrum. It isn't a single identifiable move. Pascal Girard's King's move is very different from George Zakowitz, is very different from any three others that you might mention. Different degrees of extension, different degrees of bone lock, different degrees of...
Yes, even today I was arguing with Engin and Tobias Polong from Sweden about the King's move, and we were talking about Denis Tsiplenkov, because Denis was also doing this move.
Some of Denis's biggest wins are against Pushkar. Some of Denis' most big and Chafee were as a result of a degree of King's move.
Exactly. And my point is that every time when somebody opens your arm to the bone limit, that should be a win. This is what I believe. Mm-hmm. I don't care what kind of King's move, with pronation or without pronation, with wrist or without wrist. Mm-hmm. Anytime they open your arm till the bone lock, it should be a win for your opponent.
Where that becomes a difficult thing, I think, is purely and simply there are varying degrees of it. You know what I mean? Some people's range of motion is here, some people, and
it's true. But you know that if you understand arm wrestling, it's very easy to see when somebody's arm is opened. It's very easy to see.
I understand what you mean. Yeah, if you are utilising the calcified lock, then you think the match should be over once the person is on the because if you look at Michael Todd, there are times when you say, okay, he's on a calcified lock there. Now he will say that he isn't, but a lot of people will say, oh yeah, he's definitely on the lock. Now, more recently, Michael has undeniably not been using the calcified lock. In his win against Dave Chafee, he didn't get close to it. In his win against
not agree.
Jerry, I would argue that all night. I actually think Michael got to a level of comfort in that match where he was allowing it to go lower for the crowd. Really, I think Dave had gone at that point. I think he was fatigued. Dave's a dragster. He's unbelievably strong, but he doesn't have the endurance. Christ knows how dangerous he'd be if he ever got it, because there's not many stronger.
The thing is that for Michael Todd and Dave Chafee, when they put, let's say like this, Michael was not using his bone lock 90% of the time or 95% of the time.
Yeah.
But when Chafee was attacking him, and Michael just to go there for 1 second and just to stop the hit of Dave, it's enough again to stop the match where he wants. So in my eyes, it's still not fair.
What we're going to do, Krasi, me and you, right? Next time we tie up at an event, we're going to find that Kim match online. We're going to grab a beer and we're going to walk through that. Get Engin as well, because without Engin it won't be anywhere near as entertaining, and maybe Devon, right? And we can walk through that match and put it to rights. I still think that it would be a worthwhile exercise, although probably tedious as balls as well. But I'd like to discuss that with you, Engin and Devon, in the Presence of Greatness show. Just to walk through it without anybody getting pissed off and be that, probably impossible, because I think, I know you get quite passionate about it, but not as passionate as Engin and not as passionate about it as Devon, because they're both emotionally attached to the move a little bit, I think. One negatively, one positively. I'm not really emotionally attached to it at all. Couldn't give a shit.
I want to say about Devon something else, about the King's move.
Mm-hmm.
For many years, Devon is searching a ways to make the arm wrestling sport of endurance. That's why he invented freedom arm wrestling. He's searching different kind of ways to make the match longer. And King's move is one of these ways. And that's why he continued to say, oh, King's move is great and this move, there is future in it, blah, blah, blah. Because it makes the match longer, and he loves this. He just loves to pull along.
My point on the King's move is, and we're going to move on from this in a second because we don't want to, I definitely do not want your show to turn into King's move. And this is only episode 2. But my thing with the King's move is as follows. I'm not too worried about it because I don't think there's many people that can actually do it. At any kind of level of proficiency. Very, very few, and particularly at elite level. Very, very few that can really do it. So I'm not too concerned about it becoming a massive thing because I don't think it's... And of those people, not all of them, it's their go-to either, you know what I mean? When you look at the move and you watch the move, it's not aesthetically pleasing to me personally. Maybe to other people it is. I'm a massive supporter of making arm wrestling matches long, and doing things that can increase the wider viewing potential for the sport of arm wrestling, but not via the King's move specifically. And why is because
if you want this, you should promote the hook pullers.
Mate, the Arm Wars was the answer to that. I think we proved it. We did 11 years. We did more than 300 televised matches, and we had an 85% battle rate. That's just how it was. Now, that was down to matchmaking. That is what it was down to. And in that entire series, the entire 300 battle-tested matches, I bet we didn't have more than 3 examples of the King's move. And Michael Todd pulled more matches in Arm Wars than he's ever done in any other promotion. Devon Larratt pulled a lot of matches in Arm Wars. And you never saw the King's move utilised. You saw battles, and you saw movement at the table. You saw a great deal of movement and change in position. And I think that movement, people enjoy. They like to see it.
Agree with you. Just if you're a hook puller, not good to pull against that move. In my mind,
no,
every style should beat any other style. And if you're a hook puller, you cannot beat that move if you're not strong enough to break that arm.
A press can.
A press, yes, but not a dragging hook.
No, it exposes that technique. But it's almost like I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. An ace card to play against the powerful hooker brings more diversity and more evolution of technique and style into it. And I'm not a King's mover, and I can't King's move. And I also don't really like watching the King's move. But I think you can't outlaw it because it's an evolving style of arm wrestling. I think it has to be policed correctly. And I think it's become an enormous talking point because of the prominence of some of the athletes that are very good at it. Whether or not it's that serious a concern, in 10 years it may not be, because some of those guys may have retired or moved on and suddenly it's forgotten about. You know what I mean? Because this is the thing, and I've said it many, many times in many, many shows, King's moving is not a new thing. You know? It's really not. It's been around since the mid-90s, and in all that, we're now 2021, and in all that period of time, there's been like 10 guys that are really good at it. The rest of the guys aren't that good at it and don't actually like it. You know what I mean? They'd rather, it wouldn't be their go-to.
Okay, let's leave that.
Yes, the King's movie sucks. Right, so we're not talking about it anymore. Whether you love it or hate it, it just sucks talking about it. So, I want to move on to some of the most impressive matches that you've had and where your thoughts and feelings are around those. You told us in the first show that your favourite match of all time was the Arsene Liliev match.
Yes.
And yet you've also had some really impressive wins against guys that are right now, and this is what I want to do is tie this into your sort of confidence thing. Guys that are right now considered, certainly on one side of the world, if you're a fan of the PAL, they are considered one and number two in the world, i.e. Levan Saginashvili and your old adversary, Vitaly Lalatin. You've beaten both those men at some stage in your career, which is highly impressive. Now, I know at the time you and Vitaly were pulling in the same weight class and were around the same weight, as far as I'm aware. Not the case when you pulled Levan. It looked like a giant versus a normal man. Which of those matches or which of those opponents do you now consider the most difficult to catch, and why?
With Vitaly, with right arm, fresh for fresh, I beat him every time we pulled, except the last one. And that match is also very arguable if he pinned me or not. Because you can see the video, it's not sure if it's pin or not. The referee said it's a win. Okay. And that's why I think that I still have chance to beat him. With Levan, I also think that I have chance, but I need more for him because Levan is strong everywhere. He is strong in hook, he is strong top rolling, he is strong everywhere.
Yep.
That's why again.
So you can't see a lane as clearly. You can't see an obvious route to victory.
Yes. No, I can see it because I've done it before.
Yep.
And I think that it's possible to do it again. Just I need more for that one, I think.
Who do you believe is stronger, Krasimir? Speaking from a point of knowledge, Chafee or Levan, and how do you see that match going? Because you pulled both men.
So far, Chafee is the guy with the strongest arm that I ever pulled. I believe his hook was better than Dennis' hook. Because even when Dennis beat Chafee, he was doing King's move again. So that's why, in my opinion, Dave has the strongest arm in arm wrestling the last 10 years, let's say. Or 7-8 years.
Yeah, okay.
But I would like to pull Chafee again also.
I have to keep your telephone number, don't I?
Because I was preparing totally different than I should, my opinion.
Also, let's be honest, it was a brand new promotion for you. And people won't know how much balls you showed in getting that match. Because it was like, you remember the conversation, I could pull this guy, pull this guy, pull that guy. Not that bothered. Yeah, you could pull this guy. I mean, you know, the only other option would be Chafee, but I ain't going to put you in with Chafee. No! That's the match! I want to pull Chafee. You remember? I want to pull Chafee. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? No, I want to pull Chafee. Yes. And at that time we spoke about, I was like, why do you want to pull the Giants? What? And you said, I want to be the man. Not a man. The man.
Yeah, it's true, and this is still the case.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the case, mate. You can see it written all over you. And how can you not root for that? How can people not want you to win? I mean, you can't not want you to win. You know. You can't not want you to win, can you? Because what's your weight like? 110, 150? What are you weighing? Even in the yak suit. Even in the...
Right now, I'm 101 kilos.
Get out of Dodge. I've got a tit that weighs 104. Are you telling me that right now, as you sit there in the poncho, you weigh 101 kilos? God.
Yes.
Damn. That's the lightest you've been in quite a while, surely.
Usually I'm 102 kilos.
So here we go, right? When you pulled Arsen Liliev, and we're gonna go match weight. When you pulled Arsen Liliev, you pulled in the 100 kilo class. What weight were you on a scale?
From 2010 till now, I'm usually 102 kilos.
God damn.
There were just, actually last year, for first time, I reached 105 kilos for my match with Kurdecha. This is the heaviest I have been. 106 in the spring.
You looked bigger. You carry that well. Yeah, you look bigger.
2016, when I pulled and beat Levan, I was 103. So
Jesus Christ.
I have never been more than 106. Never.
Wow. That's mega. How tall are you, Krasi?
180.
Okay. Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, that's why I've always, I'm not going to say it's always negative. But yeah. Too big. No, I don't know. I mean, that's why I asked about the situation with Vitaly. Because Vitali's frame is so big. He's such a bit, and I feel like, yeah.
Did you say something?
I feel like, right, he could get too big for most people if he doesn't lose something by the end, because he's never really grown into himself.
If he gets too big, then I will go too strong.
Yeah, you'll show up at 110 kilos. Oh shit! I'm gonna have to put 10 kilos on.
No, listen. Maybe about 10 years ago, I said to myself, if I get to 105 lean kilos, I would be able to beat anyone in the world. Last year, I was 106, but not lean. I was a lot more fat than I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now I'm 101, pretty lean. Not that lean, but good enough for me. So, if I gain 4 kilos, the where I want, I believe that I can beat anyone.
Did you feel a lot stronger at 106 kilos though? Stronger? Did you notice any benefit? Because a lot of the
I don't know,
when I'm lean, I don't feel as strong.
I don't know if I was a lot stronger. I cannot say, but I didn't like myself when I was looking in the mirror, so I decided to.
I know that feeling, mate. I know that. Seriously, only this morning, right? I get out of the shower. I step out of the shower. In fact, I stepped out of the shower and a bit to one side, then I didn't stand on my own dick. And as I stepped in front of the mirror, I looked at myself and I thought, nah, not good. And it's been like that now for, quite a while.
For 30 years.
30 years! 30 years of pain I've had to endure. Oh, it's terrible, mate, I tell you. So when Michael Todd, right? Let's talk about Michael Todd. He said to me that sometimes he feels stronger when he is more confident because he feels like he looks good. Is that in your mind? Are you like, do you get up and think, and you look at yourself and think fit, you think, yeah, I'm fit, I'm ready, I'm going to be strong. And it's a confidence thing because we talked at the beginning of the interview about your mental strength. Do you think impacts on that?
It's something like this. It's like I look in the mirror. I say, okay, I'm fit. I look athletic. I'm athletic.
Yep.
So I'm able to do this. I can do this.
Have you slowed down as you've got older, do you think, or speeded up? Because Nemiroff Cup, last time out, or Zloty Tours it was then, you looked really quick. Have you been working on the speed thing?
Not much, actually. Not much. But I don't remember how many of the trainings, but my opponent was holding me with 2 hands, and I was hitting.
Krasimir, I've just noticed we're at 1 hour in this show. So
And I need to go to train.
he always says that shit. Don't believe, right, that he's
nobody believes it, but I still repeat it.
It's got birds. Yeah, why do you think he's got a top on? He's just like, it's this quick release top, this. Come on, here we go. He's gonna, don't be, who have you got stood there? Like 10 blokes going, oh, come on. So, you train every day?
Let's say 6 days in the week.
Bloody hell, mate, you're committed. Good for you. Absolutely good for you. Now then, Krasi, we are going to leave it here, but I'm going to set something up so I can watch the next time we come on this show. I want to know about the rising talents. I want to know about the people that are coming up the undercurrent. Silayev, Morozov. I'm going to put this in as a marker so that next time we come on the show, I can get your opinions on those guys. Ladies and gents, I want to say a massive thank you to Krasimir Kostadinov in the there it is, son. Give it one of them. In the mother-fluffing house. And if this is your first time to the Supernatural Strength channel, please like, share, subscribe. We'll be back with Krasi. Remember, put your questions down below. I'm going to put the link to show 1 down below. Till we see you next time, take it easy, peeps.
What grabs your eyes on that, if anything?